Welcome to this explainer. Let's jump straight in. Have you ever wondered what modern lighting engineering and ancient Eastern philosophy could possibly have in common? I mean, on the surface, they seem completely worlds apart, right? One is dealing with pixels and screens, while the other is tackling the deepest mysteries of the human soul. But today, we're actually going to bridge that gap. We're going to look at the very fabric of human nature through the lens of something you literally look at every single day.
So think about the screen you're looking at right now. Or, your phone, your TV, your computer monitor. Where do the millions of brilliant colors on those screens actually come from? We see these incredibly vivid landscapes, brilliant sunsets, endless subtle shades, but the source of all that immense visual complexity is shockingly simple. It basically boils down to just three primary channels of light: red, green, and blue. In standard 8-bit color engineering, each of these three channels has exactly 256 intensity levels. So if you multiply 256 by 256 and then by 256 again, you get a staggering 16.7 million unique color combinations. Literally, just by adjusting the sliders of three basic lights, you create every possible hue the human eye can perceive. Keep that slider concept in the back of your mind because it is the absolute key to everything we're about to talk about.
Section 1. The RGB of Human Behavior. Exploring Chapter 14 of the Bhagavad Gita.
Now let's take that RGB analogy and map it straight onto the human mind. Just like three lights create millions of colors, Chapter 14 of the ancient Bhagavad Gita introduces this brilliant framework. It suggests that just three fundamental qualities combine to create the millions of complex human behaviors we see out in the world. You can really think of this as the RGB of human behavior. The Gita calls these primary colors of human nature the three Gunas. Verse 5 lays it out clearly, saying, "O Arjuna, these three Gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, born of nature, bind the imperishable soul to the body." So just like red, green, and blue are the building blocks of digital light, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are the absolute building blocks of your mental state, your personality, and your daily actions.
Let's break this analogy down a bit more. Sattva represents pure clarity, peace, and knowledge. Think of it as that bright, illuminating light. Rajas, on the other hand, is kinetic energy, motion, and intense desire, so very much like a vibrant, urgent red. And Tamas, that's inertia, darkness, and laziness. Basically, every single psychological state you ever experience is just a different combination of these three guna sliders being pushed up or down.
Section 2. The Slider Wars, and our constant internal competition. Because here's where it gets really dynamic. Human behavior is never just static, is it? We aren't just one single color all the time. These three gunas act exactly like intensity sliders that are in a state of constant, ongoing internal competition for dominance. They are always fighting for control of your mind. In verse 10, the Gita says, sometimes Sattva prevails, suppressing Rajas and Tamas, sometimes Rajas prevails, and sometimes Tamas prevails. In any given moment, one slider is actively pushing itself up, and by doing that, it inherently pushes the other two down. Let's actually look at how this plays out in your day-to-day life.
Picture this. You're sitting quietly, maybe reading a deeply philosophical book, totally at peace and highly focused. In this specific scenario, your Sattva slider is totally maxed out. Your mind is illuminated, and because Sattva is dominating the board, your restless desire to move, which is Rajas, and your grogginess, which is Tamas, are completely muted. You are in a state of pure, tranquil clarity.
But then, out of nowhere, you remember an urgent email you forgot to send. Or maybe you just get that sudden burning itch to doom scroll through social media. Bam! The whole board shifts. The Rajas slider spikes instantly, bringing in motion, desire, and restlessness. And when Rajas takes over, your peaceful Sattva totally drops. You can't concentrate on that book anymore, right? You are suddenly driven by action and craving.
Then, eventually, night falls. Fatigue sets in after a long day of working and craving things. Now, the Tamas slider pushes its way up. This brings heavy inertia, lethargy, and finally sleep. When Tamas takes the wheel, its sheer weight entirely suppresses both the peaceful knowledge of Sattva and that active, restless drive of Rajas. At that point, you really just want to shut down completely.
Now, we obviously need Tamas to actually get some rest, but it can be incredibly dangerous when it starts dominating your waking life. Tamas breeds ignorance. It destroys both your intellect and your ability to act. There's actually a famous story by the Hindi writer Prem Chand about a farmer who was supposed to guard his crops at night, but he surrendered entirely to the Tamas of sleep and comfort by a warm fire. Because his intellect and drive were totally suppressed by that lethargy, he literally slept right through a nilgai, a large antelope, wandering in and destroying his entire livelihood. Tamas quite literally blinded him to his duty.
Which brings us to Section 3, the beautiful trap and chains of different metals.
So right about now, you're probably thinking, okay, Tamas's laziness, Rajas's endless craving. I should probably just try to keep my Sattva slider maxed out all day, right? Well, hold on. This is a crucial philosophical pivot. While Tamas and Rajas are super obvious traps, the peaceful, knowledgeable state of Sattva is actually also a form of bondage. It's a beautiful trap for sure, but a trap nonetheless. Check out verse 9 from chapter 14. Sattva attaches one to happiness, Rajas to action, and Tamas attaches one to negligence. Notice that specific word, attaches. Even Sattva binds us. It attaches us to our comfort, to our intellectual pride, to the feeling of being right, and to this rigid expectation that our peace should never be disturbed. And when that peace gets interrupted, you suffer, which means you're still bound.
Look at how these different forms of bondage actually manifest. Tamas is like this thick, rough rope of laziness that ties you down. Rajas is a heavy iron chain of endless desires and tasks. And Sattva? Sattva is a beautiful, dazzling golden chain of knowledge and happiness. But make no mistake here, whether it's rope, iron, or gold, a chain is still a chain. It's still tying the soul to the constantly changing circumstances of the world.
Section 4, the pole vault to freedom. Transcending the colors.
So the crucial takeaway here is that the ultimate goal of the Bhagavad Gita isn't just to make you a slightly better combination of colors. It's not about permanently staying in Sattva. The real goal is transcending these three sliders entirely. It's about stepping completely outside of the color wheel. Think about it using a modern analogy, the pole vault. To execute a pole vault, you actually need all three gunas. First, you need tamas, that's the stability and friction to firmly plant the pole into the ground. Next, you need rajas, the explosive kinetic energy to actually launch your body upward. And then you need sattva, the sharp intelligence to aim your trajectory perfectly over the bar. But here is the secret. To successfully cross that bar, you must eventually let go of the pole entirely. If you hold on to tamas, or rajas, or even the perfect intelligence of sattva, you are going to crash right back down to earth.
That state, that act of letting go of the pole, is called being Gunatita. Gunatita is the ultimate state of transcending the three gunas altogether. It means realizing that your true nature exists far, far beyond these constantly changing behaviors and mental states. Just like the RGB analogy has its scientific limits, because at the end of the day, physical light is just matter, our true spiritual nature is not just a shifting mix of psychological sliders. Because ultimately, you aren't the colors. You are the blank screen. Think about being in a movie theater. When a really tragic blue scene plays, the screen itself doesn't get sad. When a fiery, explosive red action sequence plays, the screen doesn't burn. The screen allows all of those colors to dance across it, but it remains pure, untouched, and completely unchanged. The Gita teaches that your true self is this unaffected observer, the sakshi, that merely witnesses the changing sliders of sattva, rajas, and tamas, without ever being fundamentally altered by them. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought to chew on. Throughout your day today, your sliders are inevitably going to shift. You'll feel peaceful, you'll feel anxious, you'll definitely feel tired. But if the colors of your mind are always changing, who is the one watching the screen? Next time you feel a strong emotion, try not to get totally lost in the color. Instead, see if you can take a step back, observe the slider moving, and connect with that blank screen beneath it all. Keep observing, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.